So let's talk about food, glorious food, everyone's favorite and occasionally least favorite topic with kids. Allison, you've been at this a while. What do you think?
I think it's really tough. My son is 7, he's in first grade now, but I overhauled my diet probably 3 years into his life. I mean, I lost a lot of weight and I started changing the way that I eat, but I didn't necessarily make him do it. So, you know, he was still sort of a chicken nugget, sweet potato fries, processed, but from the organic frozen section.
I love that.
Organically processed.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It is better.
Really expensive processed food. So I'm trying to do that a lot less now. Last night he had cod, but he still had to have broccoli. There were tears, there was some fighting and some negotiating. And
well, how do you get him to eat the things he ought to eat
I
but
bribe
doesn't
him
want
with
to
dessert,
eat?
which is another thing that I struggle with because a girlfriend of mine who's very strict with her kids said, dessert every night is not dessert, it's a habit. So
She sounds kind of unpleasant, doesn't she? She doesn't sound like a lot of
I hear her
fun.
voice in my head, but she's sort of my go-to for questions like this, and I'm trying to strike a balance between 6 nights of you just get dessert if you eat the broccoli and just eat the food because it's good for you.
I grew up in a family where my parents were off the boat Italian, so and it wasn't like chicken parm, it was more like squid and broccoli arab and lentil soup and all that kind of crazy stuff, roasted peppers. That's what we grew up on. So I kind of am I cook it, you eat it, end of story. And they hate me, like they cry about it, but I kind of feel like if I'm serious
They'll
now,
love you later,
they'll
for
love
it.
me later. If you give them, I always like, I make pasta, but it's always like, here's your fish. Oh, the pasta's still boiling, it'll be done in a minute. Like they always have to go after their fish and their protein first.
Good.
And then I'll bring out, and they're usually so full by then that it's like too late for it, all right?
I'm the same way, like what's for dinner is what for food. This is not a restaurant. But I think too, it's important not to get discouraged. And just to keep trying. Keep introducing that food, that new food, because their palates change, they evolve, and they'll get there.
Not to mention that like steamed broccoli, because I did this too for a long time, I just made them steamed broccoli. I'm
I
like,
hate steamed
who eats it?
broccoli.
So if you make it interesting, they're more likely to eat it. And I think they have a higher tolerance for spicy stuff and things that you
Than
think.
people realize. I tried something recently that worked. We were having all of a sudden problems with green vegetables. It never had been a problem in the past. And so I said, okay, I need you to agree to 3 green vegetables that you will always eat. I mean, those won't be the only ones, but if those are there, it's guaranteed. And that was fine.
I think it's like one of the biggest struggles in a household too, because what happens if we keep feeding our kids all this processed food?
Well, we know what happens, right? Obesity, diabetes, it's a huge issue, and we see it, and it's
sometimes
tragic.
I notice that, you know, my son seems tired, and I don't know if it's just because he didn't go to sleep until 8:45. Is it because the night before he had ravioli and a cookie? You know, so the mother guilt sort of kicks in, and we talk about it.
On the other hand, you got to loosen up a little sometimes too, right? Like sometimes a cupcake's fine.
Pizza.
Or, you know, pizza, some spaghetti, it's fine, but you just got to keep it in balance.
Yeah.